Alright, and hello everybody, I'm the Super27, and welcome to another Dokkan battle video. Now, thanks to the homie Proton, late last night, we found out that the global version of the game will actually be getting some of the TANABATA EZAs, which is a very smart and very good decision. This is a good way to kind of catch up the versions, as well as, you know, during this time, for the 9th anniversary, during this little time slot, we were actually getting Buhan and STR Vegito. So, for our EX part, we're just getting 3 EZAs as opposed to 2, since we've already had them prior. Now, these will not drop until the 8th, so little over a week from today, as of the time I am recording this, before these guys actually go live. And the day that this video will be going live, SSBE Vegeta and MUI will be going live in the game. So I'll make a video going over them tomorrow. That way I can maybe see in the comments some of you guys, some of you global players actually getting to use these characters and kind of see how you guys like them, how you dislike them, different parts of the kits, where you think that you would rank them in totals of like a top 10 or whatever. But looking forward to these is huge, and again, this is huge for the sync. I had a couple people in my comment section actually predict that this would be something that they would do. This is, I'm going to be completely honest, one of the least likely things I thought they were to do would be to help give us EZAs. Because if we think about that, this is pretty huge. This is essentially 93 free stones by completing, because you get 3 stones for each mission that you beat, or each stage that you beat, and then there's the mission for beating stage 7, where you get 1 Dragon Stone. So getting 93, that's basically almost 2 multis. So if anyone still hasn't been able to summon for Beast Gohan, or they haven't pulled them, Broly, the Gammas, whatever you want, this will give you a good opportunity to essentially get 2 more summons on any of those banners. So this is actually a huge, huge dub. Now, I didn't know which order to talk about these in, because I don't actually know where I would rank all 3 of these in terms of power. So we're just going to start off with Jiren, and then we'll end off with Universe 7. So Jiren, he leads Universe 11 or Universal Survival Saga. Was that even English? Probably not. 3 key and 170 to stats. I mean, that's pretty decent, I guess. If you don't have, like, I guess, is he actually going to be the best Universal Survival Saga leader on Global? He is, because we don't have Tech MUI, and Topo doesn't lead that. He leads tournament participants. So you could actually theoretically run this guy as a leader. Theoretically, but you know, Topo's right around the corner. He's going to be dropping just after these guys. I don't actually know exactly when Topo is dropping, but it'll be around the 8th or the 9th or the 10th or something along those lines. So Jiren, in his passive, he gets 300 stats at the start of turn, which is huge. That's a lot of stats. Very, very good. He gets an extra 30% damage reduction for 1 turn from his first entry. Very good as well. That means for start of the fight, you can put him into slot 1. He's kind of like the Tech Ultimate Gohan ability, I guess is what we could call that. He gets an additional 100% attack and defense and guard if HP is 40% or more at the start of turn. Ooh. Now, you can lose that, but I feel like a lot of the times, you're either at full HP or you're dead. There's really not a whole lot of gray area unless you're running specific teams like Majin Buu Saga. If you're running like the super class side of things, I can maybe see that happening. If you're running Pure Saiyans with Tech Vegeta, he is a god. He is a very good defensive tanky unit, but a lot of the times you put him in slot 1 transformed. I mean, if he doesn't get to super beforehand, he'll take 500, 600k. He'll live, like he's good enough to live, but he's not good enough to be able to tank some of these supers, which could kind of hurt the rest of the team. I know they don't share categories, but I guess that is a situation where you would be able to lose this, even though it's not going to directly affect this character. So if you have 80% or less HP at the start of turn, or from the 5th turn from this character's first appearance... Why is this worded so weird? If HP is 80% or less at the start of turn, starting from the 5th turn from the start of battle, or if HP is 40% or less at the start of turn, he gets an extra 200 of stats. Oh, I see. So, okay. So if you don't have this activated, so if you don't have the guard and the 100% stat, you'll get an extra 100%. So 200% if you're at less than 40% HP at the start of turn, or if HP is 80% or less, starting from the 5th turn. Is that permanent? I think this is permanent, so if you do go into an attacking turn and you're at like 39% HP, yes, you will lose the guard, but I think you just get a permanent 200 buff to your stats. Or if you're kind of like, you know, destroying the fight and you're not really taking a lot of damage, or if you're going slow and you're making smart plays or whatever, you get to turn 5 and you have this. I mean, that's 500 of stats, 600 if this is up. That's crazy. Okay, this guy has a lot of stats. Very, very good. He gets 3 key with each attack received up to 11. Ooh, he has to get hit 4 times. Okay, that's not terrible. Just 4 hits. Yeah, because that's interesting. He doesn't get key up here. Okay. He launches a guaranteed additional super attack starting from the turn in which this character receives their 3rd attack in battle. So yeah, he really does want to get hit. I guess that's why they gave him this, so he can go into slot 1. Or just put him wherever the most amount of attacks are to help build him up quicker. He's super effective against all types. He performs a crit if the enemy is on attack down or defensive down status, or if they're stunned. Okay, so Cell Max, you can use this guy in Cell Max pretty well. And then he gets a attack break when key is 24. That's an unconditional. That's an unconditional. You don't need another unit on the rotation. There's not an HP restriction or anything. I mean, you could say 24 key, but he's getting 11 key here. He's going to have Tournament of Power, right? Yeah, Tournament of Power is 3 key. Supreme Warrior, Shocking Speed. I mean, he'll get 5 key from his links. Yeah, that shouldn't be very hard to get. And that's not like a once per battle or anything. And being able to have this is better than having it on an active skill, because when you're using it on active skill, you're just disabling the enemy's first action within the turn. So if there's 2 attacks in slot 2 or whatever, and you put Jiren in there, one of those attacks will be gone, so he only gets hit the one time, which I think is better than, like, kind of helping protect your slot 1 unit. I feel like in more instances, your slot 1 unit should be able to, like, fend for themselves, whereas this character would need this to protect himself. Because, yeah, I mean, outside of his guard... So when the guard wears off, no, excuse me, when the damage reduction wears off, it's going to be guard with potentially 600 to stats. I mean, he's definitely taking every normal in the game at that point, even pre-super. But supers, I don't know. I'll have to see it. I think he should be able to tank comparably supers, but I don't think, like, I think Big Boss supers would probably be able to catch this guy. But with this, you get him to 24 key, that's not going to be a huge factor. Okay, so let's look at what his super attack effect is. On his 12 key, he greatly gets greatly raise attack and defense for 1 turn, and then cause colossal damage to the enemy, lowers defense. That can be huge in certain events where you're able to debuff. And then massively raise attack and defense for 1 turn, cause mega colossal damage to the enemy, massively lower defense with a 50% chance to stun. Dude, yeah, no, I almost feel like this guy was meant for Cell Max. He looks really good because the start of the Cell Max fight can be brutal. I don't think that's on global yet. Again, I still don't have my phone back. Hopefully, within the next 3 days, I should actually have my normal phone back. So we can hope out for that. Everyone in the comments, please wish me good luck with getting all my account and stuff back. You know, it's a little dicey at the moment. There's a chance I might lose my Dokkan account and have to start all over, which would be horrible. So please, I don't know, share some positive vibes and good thoughts or whatever, that I will actually be able to recover everything the way that I want to. But yeah, no, he seems like he is built for that. He has the attack break to help defend himself. Turn 1, he's going to be able to get hit pretty easily. I mean, 30% damage reduction and guard with 400 stats, excuse me. Pretty good. Not going to lie, this is actually quite solid. Now, he doesn't necessarily have the best home. I mean, I guess you can run him on Topo's team when Topo does drop, because he is obviously on tournament participants. But this is a character who's meant, like, kind of to, like, subsidize or help Carnival Jiren. And Carnival Jiren is one of these characters who is in limbo. I am still hoping that for the Topo Part 2, we will get Jiren, but I'm starting to think more likely than not we'll have Topo for the first 2 weeks, so we'll have like a week of Topo celebration stuff, but seeing as we already have Super Easy Egg, SS33 Go Tanks, and we already have Ginyu, those 2 weeks are going to be pretty slow, pretty dry. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of content for Topo, and then Part 2 of that, I think we're likely going to just get whatever the Peppy Gal banner is. I think that's going to be synced between the versions, and then we're going to go in right into Worldwide. So that'll mean it'll be good, because that's going to be obviously a lot of stones that we can save. And I think it might actually potentially be bad for global players if we were to get Jiren, because Jiren is a very, like, I would say he's a very good character. He's the first Carnival leader in the game who leads 2 separate categories, being Universal Survival Saga and Universe 11. There is a very tough Universe 11 mission in the Golden Frieza and Goku fight, which I don't know when we'll get the Tanabata fights. I don't know how they're going to work any of that out. Again, there's so many questions that we have talking about, like, the global sync and everything. So we'll see. There are potential things that could happen, but he doesn't necessarily have the best home. I guess his home will ultimately be on the Topo team, because I'm looking at it right now. I mean, Powerful Comeback, you could run him on SSBE's team. Full Power doesn't have a good leader at the moment. Super Bosses, he is a Super Bosses buff. You could run him with Broly. That would help with, like, the Super Bosses missions and everything. This is a strong tech unit, but we don't really need a strong tech unit. We need a strong STR option on so many of these Super Bosses teams, because right now, like, the best Super Boss on global is STR Hit. And that's a problem, because that kid is not very good. So these missions where it's like beat the Beast Gohan event with a full Super Bosses team and doing the same thing with against Gogeta, that's not going to be easy, because you're going to just have to run a fraudulent unit who has very good opportunities to get caught. I mean, Tech is pretty good, but again, we already have, like, Tech Fusion Zamasu. I would say that this guy is probably better than Tech Fusion Zamasu, because you're obviously not going to be fighting over domains with Broly, and you're not going to be fighting over domains with Rosé. And he doesn't, like, taper off, really. I mean, yeah, he loses his 30% damage reduction, but he kind of builds up as the fight gets more and more intense, whereas Fusion Zamasu, I mean, 40% damage reduction is good, but you can't really put him into slot 1, and I've seen him, like, post-super, I have seen him get cooked, so maybe this will be good for that mission. I don't really know. And he does also have an active skill that we can talk about right here, so this can be activated when the character receives 5 or more attacks in battle. He gets 30% attack and defense, and then all enemies get debuffed. That's actually pretty huge, by 30%, and then he's stunned. So, again, this kit is literally designed to destroy Cell Max and work with the Carnival Jiren. Because you get Cell Max, I think it's when you go below... I've seen some people say it's HP thresholds. I've now started to see some people say it's turn conditional when Cell Max gets all his different buffs and his different mechanics. I don't know. Obviously, I haven't used the fight myself. I have no experience, and I feel like every single time I see a showcase, I see someone say something different. So I don't actually know when Cell Max, you're able to stun him, you're able to keep him sealed. I don't know, but this guy would absolutely lock him down, giving a guaranteed stun on this turn and debuffing him. I don't know if you can debuff Cell Max, but you would be able to debuff characters like Gogeta, Beast, Kid Buu. A lot of these really tough fights that we have on Global, this kid is actually going to be debuffing, and this is pretty huge. Now, having to get hit 5 times can be a little bit inconsistent. We've seen this before with characters like SSBE. We've seen this before with characters like the Full Power Super Saiyan 4 Goku, where it's not always the easiest thing to get hit 5 times. Now, looking at his kit, I don't know if you would want to go dodge, because he does have to get hit 5 times. So if you give him full dodge, you may never see this, is the problem. But he's not getting a whole lot out of crit, because he does already have super effective against all types, and he gets a guaranteed crit if they're debuffed. And again, a lot of these fights you are actually able to debuff. So I would say crit is probably the worst thing to give this kid, since he's already going to be essentially having double crit. Because crit is better than super effective against all types, but super effective against all types is kind of like a watered down crit. And I guess you could go like a lot of additional, maybe. Because he's getting another 100 here, he's getting 50 here, so if you were able to get the hidden potential system, that would be huge. And he doesn't have any additional built-in... No, he does have an additional right here. He does, after he gets hit 3 times. So, I mean, he does launch a lot of attacks, I guess, then, to be fair. So, that means you just have multiple chances to proc the hidden potential system. Hopefully you get that coin flip, and it would be a super. But yeah, no, Jiren seems pretty solid. He doesn't have the best home, but he does seem quite solid. His links are a little bit inconsistent, though. Legendary Power, Fierce Battle, Tournament of Power, Supreme Warrior, Shocking Speed, End Fighter, and then Godly Power. Like, Legendary Power, it's very generic. Tournament of Power, you're going to be running him with, like, Topo for the moment, so that it won't be too hard to get. Shocking Speed won't be too hard to get with tournament participants, because you'll be wanting to run AGL, MUI, and such. So these links you should be able to get pretty easily. End Fighter, Fierce Battle, Supreme Warrior, and, I mean, technically, if you are running him with MUI, you would also get Godly Power. So some of his links might not be the most complicated to get. So Jiren, he seems very solid. I think this was a good pickup for us. Up next, this is probably who I think is the best out of the 3. I don't know for sure, because again, I'm not too familiar with what these characters actually do. That's part of the reason why I'm doing this, is to familiarize myself with these characters. But I think Golden Frieza and 17 have the potential to probably be the best out of the 3 that we're going to be discussing today. So, they lead Universal Survivor Saga or Joined Forces, 4 key and 160 to stats. They really couldn't give him the 170? That's a bit odd. I mean, I understand they're a yellow coin, but so is Jiren, and Jiren is an older release. Jiren was... When did Jiren come out? Back during 2021, and then these guys, I mean, they're also 2021, I guess. Okay. Came out the same year, but still, they missing out on that 10%. I know you're more likely than not going to be running these guys as a leader, but still, I feel like they could have thrown them a bone. But they don't really need it, because they're quite good. So they get 177% attack and defense at the start of turn, which is low. For this year, I would say anything under 200% is low, but they make up for it hugely without the rest of their kit. They get 7 key and 50% damage reduction for their entry turn. Super good. Super good. Even with this, though, because they do have the naturally lower stats, they cannot go into slot 1, but essentially they will not die on their first rotation as long as they are allowed to super first. So keep that in mind. This may seem tantalizing, but they cannot go in slot 1. Okay, please remember that. They get 2 additionals, each of which has a 50% chance of being a super. They launch an additional super attack with a 70% chance. Excuse me. Yeah, they launch a guaranteed additional super and then a 70% chance of it being a crit when HP is 77% or less. Really good. Now, again, I feel like this won't always be the most consistent, because I feel like you're either alive or you're dead. A lot of times, especially for, like, I feel like global players kind of run into this more than maybe, like, JP players, because I think the JP player base just has a natural, like, wider range of whales, whereas I feel like a lot of global players, you know, sometimes they do foolish things. They summon on a lot of banners that they shouldn't. They don't always get the most amount of value out of everything. But, I don't know, this is an older unit, so you're more likely to have a couple of dupes in him. I only have I think I only have him 69%. I don't actually have the Team Universe 7, who we'll be discussing last, but I mean, you could potentially have some dupes in this character, because I mean, this character's 3 years old at this point, which is kind of crazy to think about, but yeah, they're 3 years old. So yeah, if you do get this, very, very good, but I'm going to say it's probably not the most consistent because of this. They get an extra 1 key up to 7, and an extra 11% attack and defense up to 77% with each attack performance. That's how they kind of subsidize this. They have lowered starter turn stats, but they can kind of build up to be, you know, averaging with like some of the big dogs. They get an additional 1 key up to 5, and 20% attack and defense up to 100% with each super attack performed. So these stack at like the same time. So if you get a hidden potential system additional normal, you will still be getting buffs. So even like this is the character who you kind of want to flood, I feel like, as much additional into them as possible, so you can build this up quite fast. Because seven attacks is kind of a lot, but if you're thinking about this, like at the starter turn, they're going to be launching their 18 key. Then they're going to be launching 2 additionals, each of which has a 50% chance, so that's 3 attacks. You have another one right here, that's 4 attacks. You get your hidden potential system, that's 5. So if you do that, and they're all supers, this gets fully built up on their first turn. Whereas you'd have to do 2 more attacks to get this. But they're giving themselves a lot of key, which is good, especially since they don't get any key at the start of turn. That's pretty huge, pretty huge. And then this is where they get a little bit insane, in my opinion. They get 17% chance to crit and 17% damage reduction with each attack performed within the turn. This is what physical Goku Black wishes he was. I know he gets like 30% attack and defense per super or per attack or whatever, but getting crit chance and damage reduction is pretty crazy. So I actually have a calculator up here. So if we do 17 times 5, their maximum defensive output is 85%. Now, you're not going to be seeing this every single turn, but at the bare minimum, you're going to be getting at least 34% damage reduction with their really high stats. So again, if, like worst case scenario, you just get the 18 key. Both of these are normals. Let's say your HP isn't high enough to get this, and you do get the hidden potential system, but it is just a normal. Worst case scenario, you were getting, I guess technically worst case scenario, you would actually be getting 17, unless you have this activated. So, I mean, 17% damage reduction, that is like pitifully bad, but I feel like, I mean, I guess there is margin for error. This would be like very unfortunate if you did just get all of these, but they're building up everything right here. And, oh, it's attack performed. Excuse me, it's attack performed. It's not supers. I completely misread this. So, yeah. I mean, they're getting a lot of damage reduction. Then, so worst case scenario, then let's pull this back up. So they're launching their guaranteed 18 key. They're launching 2 attacks, so that's 3. And then let's say you don't get this, so that's 4. So we'll do 17 times 4. They're at 68% damage reduction, basically 70% damage reduction with really high stats. They're also going to be critting, very high chance to crit on all of these. I mean, again, their stats are a little bit lower, but they subsidize it with this. This is a character who I feel like cannot get caught in slot 2 or 3. I may be wrong. If you want to show me footage of this character getting caught, go ahead. I would love to know, because right now I might be overrating them a little bit, potentially. But I don't realistically see this character getting caught ever in slot 2 or 3, especially since Universal Survival Saga is about to be like a huge team that's going to be flooded with a lot of support. I feel like this would be very, very rare. And on top of that, they have no restrictions in their passive. So, even though they're not on the most teams, Universal Survival Saga, Joined Forces, Reps of U7, Tournament Participants, Battle of Fate, and Battle of Wits, you can run those on any of them and not have to worry about anything. This is just a very good generic character who builds up with the fight. They're very good turn 1, where a lot of these fights can be their most difficult, and in some of these events where they go on longer and they get really, really hard towards the end, Gogeta, Beast, Goku, and Frieza, they have all of these, and they have all these little gimmicks that they're able to pull out. Very, very solidly designed character. I'm a huge fan. And then they do also have this active skill range here, which can be performed after doing 4 or more super attacks in battle. They get 7 key, 77% defense, and they get guaranteed crit for a turn. So, I mean, that's actually pretty good. They just get that much better. Huge fan. So let's look at their super attack effects. So their 12 key, they massively raise attack for 1 turn and then do colossal damage to the enemy. And then for their 18 key, they greatly raise attack and defense, mega colossal damage to the enemy, and then they debuff. Again, debuffs are so huge. Cellmax, Kid Buu, both of them are others, so we don't have to worry about any like beam nullifications, melee super nullifications. Very, 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 very good. Very well-designed character. Now, this is a little bit unfortunate that they're not getting any defense right here, but like the fact that they are massively raising attack for 1 turn, with all of these guys are going to be heavy hitters, plus their build-up crit chance. I can almost see this character being an issue because you move too fast, which is something that could happen. I made a whole video the other day talking about it, like, can rainbowed units be worse? Potentially, this could actually be one of those characters where they are too powerful that the rest of the team doesn't get a chance to build up. And if that is the case, I would actually say that they would move down a bit, just because of how offensively potent they could be. But like, this is a character who like themselves would always be safe, but they could lead to other units on your team dying. Which is something, I mean, that is something we'll have to see. I haven't used the character myself. I'll have to obviously get some experience under my belt. Again, I would primarily say go full additional on this guy, secondary dodge. You don't need crit. Don't waste any of your hidden potential system nodes on crit. Then for their links, Toughest Nails, that's one of my favorite links. Brainiacs, they'll have that with Beast Gohan. Solid Support is pretty decent. Shocking Speed is pretty good. Tournament of Power, Fierce Battle, Legendary Power. They work pretty well, I guess, with multiple different categories. Toughest Nails is going to be a harder link to activate on some of these teams, I suppose. Oh, you can actually grind up a free-to-play to get their SA up. That's good. Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, Battle of Wit would be the only way you'd get Toughest Nails, and that would be with, like, Orange Piccolo or Piccolo units. Because I don't think Topo has Toughest Nails. None of the U6 or U7 boys do. So, I mean, Battle of Fate, you could probably have them just because that's like a grab bag. But if you are able to get Toughest Nails, I mean, that's also just a huge buff. Huge buff. They also have this, so they debuff with their links if you're able to get that activated. Very well-designed character. I'm a big fan. And then lastly, we have the Team Universe 7, who leads Reps of Universe 7, 4 key, 170 stats, or Super Int, 4 key, and 100 stats. Not a half-bad leader skill. They get 177% attack and defense at the start of turn. They get 1 key up to 5, 7% damage reduction up to 35, and a chance to perform a crit up to 35 per Reps of Universe 7 category ally on the team. So they are stuck on their team. But that's not bad. 35% damage reduction and 35% chance to crit. Not bad, not bad. And that's at the start of turn. They don't have to build up or anything. That's just how you design your team. Now, can you actually run Reps of Universe 7 right now on Global? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess you can. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You could also slide in these guys. You can slide in these guys. I feel like this guy, his time in the sun is far gone. But you have options. I mean, just these LRs that we got during this celebration, that's a very competent team. Right there. All right, not bad, not bad. And so they'll actually get to see some really good usage on Global for a time. Very good. They get an extra 77% attack and defense, and an additional 17% damage reduction, and additional chance to perform a crit plus 17% when there are 5 or more Reps of Universe. Ooh. Okay, so how much damage reduction are they getting in total then? So they're getting 35 plus 17. Let's see what that is. So they're at 52% damage reduction and 52% chance to crit. Very solid. Very solid. All right. And they're getting extra stats right here. Because, again, they are, like, restricted to this team. But that's pretty good. They randomly change a certain type of key sphere and excluded to rainbow key spheres when HP is 77% or less. Again, this won't be the most consistent ability, but when you do get it, that's going to be a huge buff. They get an extra 77% attack and defense when key is 17 or more. They get an additional 77% attack and defense and launch a guaranteed additional super attack when key is 22 or more. They get an additional 3 key per rainbow key sphere obtained. And then all allies get 1 key, 7% attack and defense, and 7% crit chance per rainbow key sphere obtained. So these guys are pretty stupid. Now the problem, they do have a bit of a problem, because they can't go into slot 1. 52% damage reduction is like cool and everything, but with this, you can't put them into slot 1. I would say even with these, they're not going to be able to go into slot 1. So obviously they're creating their own orbs, which is good, but they want their own orbs, and it's rainbow orbs. So when like a character like Bulma, you can kind of get around with this because you can have characters just not touch the STR key spheres at all. It is very hard when you are orb changing to avoid rainbow orbs. You know what I mean? Because the game, you can slide your finger across all the different options, and a lot of the time it will pick the path that has multiple rainbow orbs. So this guy's potential support ceiling can be very drastically different, especially since there is an HP restriction on this. You might not even get this a lot of the time, meaning you might not be able to get his support. Now, his support is pretty crazy. You get 3 rainbow key spheres, 21% attack and defense, 3 key, and 21% chance to crit. That's, like, really freaking good on a lot of units as well. I mean, I feel like this is kind of like, this is a character who, like, invalidates crit. All of these characters just invalidate crit in the hidden potential systems. Like, there's no point in giving crit on a lot of characters when we have units that can give crit support, or so many characters just have crit built into their passives like this. Now, I don't think he's going to be nearly as tanky. I guess I should maybe look at what his super attack effects are before I really start yapping. But I don't think this character is going to be nearly as defensive as this character, nor do I think they're really going to be as offensively potent. Even though they have a higher chance to crit at the start of turn, and they have the higher damage reduction ceiling, I suppose, or it's more consistent. That, like, this is a potential character, but their potential is incredibly easy to obtain, whereas this is a more consistent unit. But I don't know, I can maybe see them getting caught. We can see. but they're also going to want to try to get to 24 ki as much as possible. They do get a lot of ki, though, per Rainbow Ki Sphere, so maybe this character should be able to see a lot of really good play. Look at their super attack effects. Alright, this is a melee, so Kid Buu, you can't really run this guy in, but he massively raises the attack for 1 turn, colossal damage to the enemy, and then supports the rest of the rotation by 30%. So yeah, slot 2 is where you really want to put this. I mean, slot 1 would be really where you want to put him, but like, you can't. He's just not tanky enough to go there, unfortunately. And then for the 18 ki super, mega colossal damage to the enemy, raise allies attack and defense by 30%, and give them 7% chance to crit for 2 turns. No defense on either super attack effect. I'm not a fan of that. I mean, the support is good. You're going to be protecting your slot 3 unit with these. So by essentially, you do 2 supers. You're giving the slot 3 unit 60% attack and defense. So not only is your slot 3 unit going to be more likely to survive a slot 3 super, not only are they going to be doing more damage, this would be really helpful in like the Goku and Frieza event. You're going to be able to cross the damage threshold with your slot 3 floater a lot easier. I don't know, just 52% damage reduction and 77. I mean, again, I know he has these, but I don't think those are going to be enough. Am I underrating you? I don't think I am. Because this character is getting way more stats, and they have a higher damage reduction ceiling. Like, I could see them tanking normals. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about this kid, like, dying to normals or anything. But I don't think... I think supers could catch them. And I don't think supers could catch Golden Frieza in 17. I feel like if you're using them, you're going to want to float them. But if you're floating them, it's going to be hard to give them their orbs. And then it's going to be... These are useless. Like, if you're floating this character, you're using them wrong. But are they good enough to stay on a main rotation? I mean, they do give nice support. If you put them in slot 2, that's where you're most likely to get the most amount of rainbow orbs. I don't know. I mean, they are obviously very good. I don't want to like act like I'm underrating the character, but what they're providing and how they work is a little wonky, in my opinion. Just a little bit, just a little bit. I don't think they're... I would say, yeah, this is actually probably the worst of the 3. Because Jiren, he's supporting in different ways by debuffing, stunning, and sealing. And he's a very self-reliant character. He'll be very good no matter what. I don't know, low stats comparatively to the others. You have to run him on one team. His support can be pretty good depending on how many you get. You have to keep him on slot 2, so you can't really float him. If he gets locked in any of these locking fights, he's dead in slot 1. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'll have to see some footage of this character in action. But I like what he's doing, but he just doesn't have enough, if that makes sense, for him to be, like, super, super insane. I mean, he is insane. Like, don't get me wrong, again. But I'm just saying, like, compared to, like, every other LR that we have, like, this guy isn't touching, like, what the Gammas do, you know? I mean, the Gammas are just 50% defense for free, essentially, on their super attacks. Again, no defense here is what's really throwing me off. Like, any level of defense, because I don't think this applies to him. I don't think he would get this, because it's a... I mean, if he does get this, and I'm underrating him, then I apologize. But I don't think he gets these buffs. I don't think this would add stats to him, because the way it's worded. Because there are some characters who do their damage first, like SSJ Kaba is one of them, where he does his super attack damage first, and then after that he gets the 30% attack and defense for 9 turns. I don't think that this is worded in the same way. I don't think this would apply to him. I don't think he would get his crit support. I don't think he gets this. I might be wrong. Again, let me know if I am wrong. Because if that is the case, I'm going to quickly change my tune on this character. But I could just see them getting caught by supers in slot 2 or slot 3. I don't think you would really want to keep them on your main rotation. I think this is the character who you'd want to keep on main rotation, although you do have the flexibility to float them. And I guess turn 1, you could theoretically put them into slot 1. I guess. Like, if they were in, like, slot 7 and they got locked in slot 1, they would take damage, yeah, but they could potentially live as well. I don't know. Let me know. But let's see. Let's look at their active skill and see if this maybe changes my tune a little bit. So it can be activated when facing one enemy who has 50% or less HP. If there are 5 or more Reps Universe 7 category allies on the team. with 2 or more self-excluded attacking in the same turn. So yeah, you have to run this guy in Retsu U7. Okay. Greatly raise attack temporarily, cause ultimate damage to the enemy, and then all allies get 7 key for the turn, so it's an attack. I mean, 7 key support is nice, but I feel like Universal Survival Saga and Retsu Universe 7 aren't going to be struggling for key because they have good key links. Okay. I mean, that is nice, though. Because a lot of the characters want to be at 24 key, like SSBE and MUI, I do know. Again, I haven't, like, fully read their kit, so I'm not entirely up to date with what they do. But I do know that, like, when they're at 24 key, they do get the guaranteed crits, which is nice, so that could make that way easier. You could save more orbs for this character, you know, potentially try to, like, give MUI and SSBE, give them less orbs, that way there's more rainbow orbs on the field. You pop this as well, they're still getting to their 24 key, they're still getting their crit support, this character's able to give all of their support. I just feel like you have to play like chess with this character. Because you're just going to be missing out on a lot of their abilities, I feel like. I don't think you're going to get this very consistently, and, I mean, yeah, this could help your slot 3 unit, but I don't know, out of every option we just pulled up, let's pull up Retsu Universe 7 again, like, these 2 are staying on main rotation, 100%. I would say this character probably stays on main rotation. I feel like these would be your floaters as a global player, and if you're floating him, he's not getting his maximum potential. I don't know. I might be underrating him a bit. We can see. Looking at his links, he does have like an Android 17 link set, which is weird because he's 17 and Team Universe 7, but he has Infinite Energy and Android Assault. Solid support, shocking speed, legendary power, fierce battle, tournament power. Yeah, I think I can comfortably say of the 3, this is the weakest. Then I would probably say Jiren is number 2, and then Golden Frieza and 17 I think are the best. But yeah, let me know what you think about these characters. Again, they are coming out on the 8th, so 8 days from now, these guys will be going live on the global version of the game. Let me know what you guys think about it. Do you think that you'll actually be running a Universe 7 team without, like, Tech UI on the team, or without Jiren? Do you still think there's a chance we could get Jiren, or do you think Jiren and just all the Tanabata celebration stuff is going to kind of be floating in limbo? Because I guess it's not out of the ballpark that we got these. And again, since we already have Super EZA, SSJ3 Gotenks, and we already have the Ginyu Force, as if we don't get the Pepigal banner, we could get Jiren, and that would be a subsidizing there, because I think it would be smarter, potentially, to give people the option of a Carnival LR as opposed to the Pepigal banner, but I think more likely than not, we're just going to get the Pepigals. Hopefully the Pepigals this year will be really good, because that would also be a huge Master Roshi buff. But yeah, let me know what you think. But yeah, that is going to be all for this time, guys. I've been the Sweeper27. I'm a variety Twitch streamer and an up-and-coming PNG YouTuber trying to make it big in the world. I have a Twitter, a Twitch, a TikTok, and a YouTube, the links to which can all be found in the description of this video. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, share me around, and leave me a comment, positive, negative, or indifferent. I would love just any sort of interaction I can get from you guys, but that'll be all for now. So, as always, I've been the Sweeper27, and I am signing off.